In the age when European empires carved Africa into colonies, one man stood in their way. He was not born into power. He was not born into privilege. In fact, he began life as a slave, torn from his family, stripped of his name. And yet, through wit, courage, and ambition, he rose to become one of the wealthiest and most powerful rulers of the Niger Delta. He built a kingdom from trade, commanded fleets of canoes, and turned palm oil into an empire of his own making. His defiance was so great that Britain, the most powerful empire on earth, feared him. This is the story of King Jaja of Opobo, the merchant king who defied the British and paid the ultimate price. Our story begins in Amegbo, a small Igbo town in southeastern Nigeria. Around 1821, a boy was born here, Mbanaso Okwarao. His childhood should have been one of farming, festivals, and family. But fate had other plans. As a child, he was seized and sold into bondage. He was marched away, never to see his home again. His destination was Bonny, one of the great trading city-states of the Niger Delta. Here, the economy ran on palm oil, the liquid gold of the 19th century. It powered Europe's factories and greased the wheels of the Industrial Revolution. The Delta was a world of fierce merchant houses, each battling for dominance over rivers and trade. Into this ruthless arena came Mbanaso, stripped of his name and identity. He entered the house of Anna Pepple, one of Bonny's wealthiest merchant families. While others carried loads, he carried knowledge. He memorized accounts, studied the flow of trade, and watched how power moved through ships and silver. By his late teens, this former servant was no longer invisible. He had risen to become a trusted figure in the Anna Pepple household. Soon he would earn a new name, one that would echo across history: Jaja. In Bonny, power belonged to those who controlled trade. Jaja's brilliance in commerce made him indispensable. He rose from servant to leader, mastering diplomacy and trade alike. But Bonny was a city divided. Rivalries between powerful houses split the kingdom into factions, Anna Pepple against Manila Pepple. Conflict erupted, and Jaja found himself caught in the middle. Refusing to be swallowed by these rivalries, Jaja made a daring move. In the 1860s, he broke away, leading his followers eastward to found a new settlement. On the banks of the Imo River, he established a city of his own, Oppobo. From the very beginning, Oppobo was a kingdom built for trade. Jaja secured strategic waterways, cut off Bonny's access to the interior, and soon dominated the palm oil trade routes. By the 1870s, Oppobo was exporting thousands of tons of oil annually, directly to British firms. European merchants called him King Jaja, recognizing both his power and his independence. He was no mere middleman. He dictated terms, set prices, and even refused European attempts to undercut African traders. To the people of Oppobo, he was more than a king. He was proof that dignity and prosperity could rise from bondage. A slave boy had become a sovereign, commanding fleets and building a kingdom with the wealth of his own hands. But Jaja's success drew the attention of Britain. By the late 19th century, the British were no longer content with trading. They wanted control. As the scramble for Africa began, the Niger Delta became a prize too valuable to ignore. Britain sought to break the monopoly Jaja had created. They demanded free access to interior markets, but Jaja refused. He understood that surrendering his control meant surrendering his people's future. When the British pressed harder, Jaja imposed his own regulations, levying duties on European traders. He was not afraid to challenge the empire directly. To London, this was intolerable. Newspapers painted him as arrogant, unreasonable, and dangerous. But in reality, he was protecting African trade from European domination. Jaja had built Oppobo into a fortress of commerce and independence. Yet the very strength that sustained him was what made the British determined to bring him down. By 1887, Britain made its move. The consul invited King Jaja aboard the warship HMS Goshawk, claiming they wished to negotiate peacefully. For a man who valued diplomacy, refusal was unthinkable. Jaja boarded the ship with regal dignity, but it was a trap. The moment talks began, orders were given. The king of Oppobo was surrounded, shackled, and taken prisoner. His people waited at the docks, expecting their king's return. Days turned into weeks, but he never came back. Jaja was shipped into exile, first to the West Indies, then to St. Vincent and Barbados. Thousands of miles from home, he lived out his years in enforced silence. Yet even in exile, Jaja remained unbroken. He wrote letters pleading for the right to return, reminding Britain of promises made and broken. But the empire had no intention of letting its most troublesome king rise again. In 1891, Britain finally relented, allowing Jaja to return to Oppobo. He set sail for Africa, but he would never arrive. Somewhere along the way, the king fell mysteriously ill. Some say it was disease, others whisper it was poison. What is certain is this: King Jaja of Opobo died in foreign lands, denied the return to the homeland he had fought to protect. But death did not silence him. Jaja's name became legend. The boy taken as a slave had risen to king. The merchant who defied an empire became a symbol of dignity, resistance, and resilience. Today, his name lives on in schools, streets, and memories across Nigeria. His defiance foreshadowed the struggles that would one day win independence. The British thought they had erased him, but more than a century later, King Jaja of Opobo remains a symbol of a people's unbreakable spirit and of the eternal truth that no empire can chain the will to be free.
Echoes of